I just moved to Toronto, Canada, from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nobody I know back in England or here would go to the US at the moment.
As America embarks on its America First foreign policy, a lot of non-Americans are feeling, well, kind of unwelcome. In fact, dozens of countries have already issued travel advisories to their citizens.
This was not a natural disaster, not a coronavirus outbreak or a global crisis, but America's tourism industry is quietly collapsing without anyone noticing while the rest of the world, especially Europe, is recovering. U.S. tourism is drifting towards the bottom. Los Angeles, Miami. New York hotels are empty. Flights are canceled. Shopping streets are deserted because foreign tourists are now turning their route to other countries this year alone. It is estimated that the U.S. will lose over $15 billion in international visitor revenues. Tourism, once one of the most important drivers of the country's economic growth, is now an early harbinger of a major crisis to come, because this is not just a lack of visitors. It is the result of a chain effect ranging from high inflows of money to political tensions, from trade wars to a crisis of perception. And the worst thing, no one is talking about this silent catastrophe properly. My friends, please like this video so that many more people can see it. Let's first look at Canada, once America's best mate in 2025. After the Trump administration imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian products, the Ottawa government issued a clear call: don't go on holiday to the United States. And this call has had a profound impact in 2025. The number of tourists traveling from Canada to the United States fell by almost 20% and continues to decline as we enter June. This is one of the steepest declines ever experienced by a single country for years. Canada was the largest source of foreign tourists to the United States. Many Canadian families used to come to various parts of the United States and enjoy themselves to the fullest. But things have changed now after the call for Canadians not setting foot in the national America now means national stance. In fact, a few days after the call, millions of potential visits were canceled. Tourists from the Netherlands, Germany, China, and the United Kingdom are now also changing their routes. According to official documents, the number of international visitors to the United States is expected to fall by about 10% this year. This means a loss of more than $15 billion for the U.S. economy. Hotels, restaurants, shops, airports, all are feeling the direct impact of this loss. And this huge money is now flowing into Europe, Asia, or Latin America, so all over the world, but not to America. Before we go on, press that subscribe button to show your support for the channel. Now let's look at the numbers. 6 years ago in 2019, America earned $230 billion from the money left by tourists from abroad. Although this figure bottomed out with the pandemic, the world returned to normal within 2 years, but it is not possible to say this for America. While Europe, Asia, and even Latin America are recovering, America is still looking for the old days with a candle, according to 2025 data. International travel expenditures will decline from $185 billion to less than $168 billion. In other words, there will be a loss of $17 billion in just 1 year. Moreover, this is not all because tourists do not want to travel. On the contrary, flights around the world are full and tourist cities are working over capacity. But this mobility bypasses America because it is no longer a question of traveling costs or catering costs. The problem is much deeper than we realize. It is very clear diplomatic mistrust. The aggressive steps taken by the White House, the trade threats, and the high tariffs on allies have seriously damaged America's image. And let's not forget, foreign governments may embargo you, but their citizens quietly move their luggage elsewhere. And America is now facing a very quiet but very costly protest. It only takes good observation to realize this. The impact of such an aggressive trade war is felt not only in the products on the shelves, but also in the drastic reduction in the number of airline tickets purchased to the U.S. in recent weeks. The Chinese government has even sent a message to its citizens to reconsider traveling to the U.S. The official reasons cited include rising political tensions and mutual economic retaliation. However, in the past years, Chinese tourists were pouring millions of dollars into the USA. Five-star hotels and specialty restaurants were full of special offers for Chinese visitors. Now this intensity has been replaced by silence. It cannot be said that Europeans are also flocking to America. It is not as vocal as China or Canada, but of course it is moving in a similar direction, because the heavy tariffs imposed by President Trump on steel and aluminium imports have created a shock in Brussels, allegedly behind closed doors. Promotional budgets for the United States are being cut. Visas are being made more difficult, and even diplomats are minimizing travel to Europe. In fact, what is clearest of all is the booking data. There is a deliberate reduction in European travel to the United States. On the contrary, Americans are turning to Europe. This is not only an economic trend, but also a clear indication of how the global perception has changed with the new American government. Tariff fights are now reflected even in suitcases. Friends, please stop the video, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. The World Travel and Tourism Council predicts that the U.S. could lose up to $15 billion in revenue from international tourists this year. As I said at the beginning of the video, this money will not return. It will not be spent on the Brooklyn Bridge, the Times Square, or Las Vegas hotel. Bookings in the quaint little town of Bar Harbor in Maine are down over 70%. This means a full-blown crisis for family-run motel gift shops and small restaurants. Even Cape Town in Massachusetts, a popular foreign destination, especially in the summer, has lost 15% of its foreign visitors. Las Vegas has become the epicenter of this crisis. Everyone knows that Las Vegas is a city where tourists pour millions of dollars into, but things have changed. Tour groups from Europe and Asia are almost non-existent. Tours are canceled, guides are out of work. Casinos are losing their big players. It's not just a loss of revenue, it's an erosion of labor, reputation, and cultural ties. The world stage is watching this change. Canada is directing its citizens to other destinations. I think America has forgotten that magic word. Welcome visitors, who are welcomed as threats rather than guests, are naturally changing their routes. If this trend continues, recovery will take much longer. Analysts say that U.S. tourism will not fully recover before 2029. But it's not too late. Visa processes can be improved, but it is no longer easy to get a visa for the U.S. On the contrary, it is quite cumbersome. Months-long waiting times for visa applications, stringent fingerprint scans, and vague entry rules deter many travelers. Countries such as Belgium and the Netherlands are issuing official warnings to their citizens saying, even if you have a visa, there are no guarantees. Even old buddy Canada is now warning tourists traveling to the U.S. about lengthy security screenings. When a tourist compares eating a croissant in Paris with the risk of being interrogated at John Kennedy International Airport in New York, he or she quickly changes his or her course. But I am sure you will be surprised by this. During the Trump era, it was announced that visas would not be granted to women who were thought to have come only to give birth. This became an agenda in many countries, especially in Latin America. So how was America affected by this situation? Canceled tours, empty seats, and a historic decline in the U.S. share of global tourism. This is not just a temporary recession, this is a permanent trend. Many airports in the country are now reducing their flights because not only passengers but also airplanes are now bypassing America. Tariff policies have made aircraft maintenance parts and logistics expensive, but there are no passengers to fill the planes. According to some research companies, these tariffs may reduce the growth of the U.S. economy to 1.4%, while inflation may approach 4%. In fact, the result is very clear. Americans' wallets are shrinking, spending is decreasing, especially in sectors such as travel and entertainment. The economic burden is being shifted to the grassroots, and the bill is being quietly passed on to middle and low-income laborers.